Welcome to season 2 of Your True Awakening. I am Sandra Tru. For nearly a decade, I've guided visionary leaders, founders, and creatives through inner work and transformation, helping them reconnect with their truth, creativity, and aliveness. And this season is about one thing: moving from awareness into embodiment, because insight isn't the problem. Most people already know what's true, they're just not living it. So each week, we go in deeper into the patterns, the nervous system, the truth beneath the surface, and what it actually takes to create a life that feels like you. And I'm so excited for my guest today, Michelle Villalobos, who is a business strategist, a speaker, entrepreneur, a creator, an artist. She's the creator of Superstar Activator movement for almost 2 decades. She has helped thought leaders and coaches and speakers and visionaries, entrepreneurs build businesses that are not only profitable, but deeply aligned with who they are. Known for her unique blend of strategy, leadership, personal transformation, community building, Michelle has guided thousands of entrepreneurs through her programs, retreats, masterminds, and live events. She is the author of But I Want to Fly. She's a certified speaking professional. This is a designation that's held by only a small percentage of speakers worldwide. And what I appreciate most about Michelle is her commitment to helping people create success from alignment rather than from exhaustion and that impact, right? What does it mean to create impact without sacrificing themselves in the process? This is a very special conversation because I have been working with Michelle's community for over 5 years now. And one of the things that keeps me so excited and committed to this work with her and her beautiful community is her own commitment to her the evolution and how you evolve, Michelle. It's one of the things that I am forever grateful to have in my sphere, that you're consistently in your becoming and committed to being in the new alignment and allowing yourself to never be in an old identity, always being in that process of renewal, which I think is so fresh and so necessary in today's culture. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. What a beautiful introduction. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So one of the things that I see a lot of people that struggle is in creating and designing lives that are sustainable and that actually reflect what they say they want. And sometimes they forget the importance of doing the inner work that can support that. And so much of the work we've been doing in the community is igniting that, expanding the necessity for people to do that, to build from the inside out versus to try to achieve, achieve, achieve. And then one day you can have the inner experience.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about when was that moment where you understood the importance of the inner work?
Well, there have been a few moments, many, many moments. There have been a few inflection points, right, where I've gotten that message again and again and again at different levels. I would say the first moment that I can truly remember feeling like this awareness was probably right about when I decided I needed to leave my last job and start my business. There was a realization that, man, I'm not living my life. I'm living a life that I'm creating based on what I think other people expect of me, what I should be doing. I was, maybe your listeners can really relate to this. I think a lot of people can. I think we all try as children to fit in, to fit into our families, to fit in with our friends. Like we don't there's very few people I think that grow up with the message like be 100% you, you do you. Most of us like have parents that are busy and they wish that we would act a certain way or that we'd look a certain way, that we'd be a certain way. My parents in particular, Cuban immigrants and very, very highly value achievement and success. And that's great. That's how they were brought up, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And so from a young age, I contorted myself to achieve love through accomplishment and through straight A's in school and things like that without getting too deep into it. So I've pursued a very like that trajectory for a really long time with the understanding that like if I do this, then I'll be successful, which means I'll be happy. Like that was the logical formula because I also thought that life operated like mathematics with formulas, right? This very linear, mechanistic worldview that if you do this, then this will happen. And so if you get straight A's, then you'll be successful. And if you're successful, then you'll be happy. Like that was
Mhm.
the way it, like it logically, worked in my brain and my subconscious too. Like this was the life that I was pursuing until I realized like I did the things. I got the grades, I got the schools, I got the jobs, I got the money, I got the cars, I got the significance, I got a lot of these things. And somehow, why am I still miserable? Why am I so unhappy? Why am I crying to work every day? Like, that
Mhm.
doesn't make sense with this worldview that I was bought into. So I'd say like the first inflection point was when I was like, wait a second. And so I still didn't know better, but it was the beginning where I was like, okay, well, then the problem here is my job is not for me. My city is not for me. So I kept still pointing the finger out, looking for all the things that I needed to fix in my life that would then I'll be happy. And when I'm my own boss and when I'm making more money for myself and when I can lead my own hours and I don't have to answer to anybody and like I'm still doing the same mistake, just in a different direction, which was, "Oh, okay, well, if I fix these things." And so then that didn't work.
Mhm.
And eventually, I had a mentor who's like, "What would happen if you pointed the finger inward and, like, started actually doing the work from the inside?" And that was really the shift. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot more to that story, but you
There's
get
so
the
much
idea.
more to that. I know so many of
Yeah.
these stories are so good. I'm so excited that we're having them. Because it is like moving from Newtonian physics, like from A to B to C to right versus there is to quantum physics, which is like physics is like attracts like. And so it's like be and radiate what like focus on putting your vibration out. Like what song are you singing? What are you living now? And I think so much of the work that is new to a lot of people that come into this community, that come to you, that are drawn to you, is that it's like, success and I'm gonna go and be more successful. But
Yeah.
what I see that you are consistently inviting people to see that it's not that the idea of success, if it's costing you misalignment, is a cost too high to pay because it's like it's a race that you will never win.
And you'll never feel successful that way either. You will never it will always be just on the other side of the next accomplishment, the next purchase, the next win, the next achievement, and it's you
Mhm.
never arrive. I mean, the work is really to flip it all on its head, paradigm shift 101. It's like inside out and then alignment. I believe that that
Mhm.
inside work starts with what I call alignment, and it's got a lot of
Mhm.
things to it. But
Mhm.
and it started, Sandra, I don't know how deep you want to get into this stuff, but it started with it was still in the realm of Newtonian universe, but it was
Yeah.
personality type. That was my first introduction to, wait a second, you mean we're all different? And if we're all different, then different things work for us and different things make us happy. And that was the beginning of going inward was, okay, personality type. And that
Mhm.
was the very first aha breakthrough blind spot moment I ever had was, oh my God, all my life I've been operating like this personality type when I'm actually this personality type. Very different.
And most of us are because the culture is kind of giving us one archetype of what personality we'd all should be in order to be that quote unquote successful or to have the significance that culture will give you. When the truth is that we are built so differently. I love that when we start working with clients, they come to us and it's the first work they start doing is just getting into who are you, and then from that place, let's design a way that actually supports that versus diminishes that. And in that way, it's almost like cracking your own code. Like, how can you start designing a life that is for you versus for what the outside is saying that you should be wanting, chasing? So many people are coming in, like when we start working with people, they come in and they're like, ah, what? It's a reconstruction, and then they try it, and they try building it from their own actual energetics from what's true to them, and you could see the evolution and the leaning into the trust and the creation of space,
Yeah.
which is a lot of people that start working in the community, they start to have so much more space, right? I'm thinking about one of the clients who created this word that I love so much, like whiteboard space. Like
Yeah.
just space to whiteboard space. And like
Mm,
what happens when you've never given yourself space for integration, for nothing, which is like the place that so much arises from. When you actually have space to listen to what is your desire, like what's exciting to you today,
right.
versus continuously creating a business out of fear. Because
Yes.
if we're only looking to the outside for how we want to create, it's all built out of fear because the whole conditioning of culture is saying, be afraid, be afraid. And so, what happens when people, and then maybe this is a question, how would you know when someone is building from alignment, from genuine alignment versus from fear? How can a person know?
That's such a great question. I mean, there are a lot of signs, I would say. To create from genuine alignment, I feel like one of the first core things, like you said, we start with who are you really? And once people start digging into who am I really, there's usually a look back into childhood. This is pretty typical that it's like you give them the personality results, you start talking about, and they're like, yeah, that makes sense. When I was a kid, I used to blank. And you're like, there it is, right? Like when I was a kid. So I just for a little backstory here, I ended up majoring in psychology and mathematics in college, math, and I ended up getting a MBA, master's in business. I graduated with a 4.0 from that master's program. So I knew myself to be smart and a high achiever. But when I started going through all these personality tests, what came back was you're basically you're a lover, not a fighter. You're like, you know, a people person. And I was like, I am? What? And but then I was like, "Well, what were you like as a kid?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I used to go up to strangers in the supermarket and introduce myself when I was 3 years old." My mother was there was no end to her embarrassment about this, so it wasn't something that was encouraged. "Oh, like, look how cute she is." Like, "Michelle, stop doing that?" So, my nature was that, but I lost it, and so that's when you say, how do you know if someone's creating from alignment? It's like, are they creating from the parts of them that are most natural, most authentic, the oldest parts of them? When you were a kid, what did you used to lose time doing? What could you do for hours and not notice? And for a lot of kids, there's studies that show, by the way, that there's activities that kids love. Like there was a study done with drawing, and the kids were, loved to draw, and they split them into 2 groups, and one of the groups, they just let them keep drawing just like they liked, but the other group, they started rewarding them for the drawings and giving them prizes or money, and those kids lost the love of drawing. And so it's, there's layers of conditioning that we want to remove so we can get back to the pure joy of things. And then this is where your work comes in, Sandra. Can we unattach from the outcome of doing that thing? Can we unattach to how it's received? And
Mhm.
granted, I understand that in the world of business, you've got to sell stuff. But there's a difference between selling it from that energy, like you said, of fear of like, will people like it? Will they buy it? Versus selling from the energy of like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. I love it so much. Let's see if other people want to do it. And I know that that sounds crazy from a business coach, but that's the energy that attracts people to stuff.
Mhm.
Not the energy of, "Oh my god, I hope you buy this. You really need to buy this. You should buy this because," there's the frequency of it, and that comes from the inside out. Alignment first, when you're doing the thing that you love, when it's aligned with who you are, And when you're honoring that inner voice, that inner soul's calling, which is desire, which I call the calling card of destiny,
Mhm.
desire is pulling you towards destiny. When you honor that and do the work of detaching from how it's received, the irony, the paradox is that it's generally received in a much different, better way.
And we see it again and again and again.
You.
I mean, it's been so amazing to have like case study after case study after case study from the people that go through this program. And the more they are them, the more they feel excited about
Yeah.
who they are, the more that they give themselves space to explore and master more of those different quirks or different things that they thought were not, you know, acceptable or
Mm.
were gonna received well, or like their clients, it wouldn't make sense. And it's in that giving themselves permission to explore more of that uniqueness that
Yeah.
it's something clicks, and including all of themselves, which is so much of the work we do with the community, is that it's like in that process of integration of looking at all the parts that have been exiled and bringing
Yes.
them in, that they have a voice, and usually we call them shadows or the bad parts that tend to have these very beautiful gifts inside of themselves when they're no longer acting from being needing attention or sabotaging our behavior, because now we include them and they also get a voice. Many of those parts, for people that are creating businesses, are distraction. They become like distractions when they're not listened to. But once they are giving the space, they become like these amazing creative allies. And I see it all the time where it's like I had this idea that it was bad because my parents said it was bad, because it was judged. I didn't get love for it. And then all of a sudden I'm having this dialogue, this friendship, this allyship with it, and it becomes like the part that I can start to value. It becomes like the part that is giving me all this part of me that I love, and that
Absolutely.
becomes really beautiful. And something that I really love about your focus in the community is the use of the business as the most powerful personal development tool, because the business is exposing so many of our parts. It exposes so many of our parts. And so what would you say about that? Why is that important for leaders to do personal development? And I guess from your point of view, it almost is like, is it non-negotiable?
It's foundational, it's fundamental. I mean, the idea that you can create a business any other way, like, here's the thing, you can do it. It can be done. People do it all the time. The problem is they reach the end of their life, and a lot of them end up miserable.
Mhm.
And they realize, man, it wasn't the thing. Like, I use the analogy of climbing a mountain, right? You get all your stuff together, all your gear, your backpack, your maps, your compasses, your, water bottle, and you get up and you hike the mountain and you do everything to get there and you suffer and you get to the top and then you're like, "Ooh, this was not the right mountain. Like, this isn't it." Because it was a lot of times it's from external outside in, and the idea that I said earlier that you will fill the gap, the hole, the
Mhm.
emptiness inside with achievement, and achievement won't fill a gap that's created by lack of alignment.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think there comes a point in a lot of people where they have done all the things to fill the hole,
Yeah.
and they are so busy that
Yes.
they think that that busy feeling of anxiety and overwhelm is the gift. And they think that, and it has been almost normalized in
Yes.
culture that, well, you have all these things and you
Yeah.
have all these titles, and they actually come to spaces like this with that, like, I don't think this was it.
Right. And
I
that's what
don't.
I call it. So the name that I have for that feeling, I don't think this is it. There's gotta be more than this. Is this it? I call it divine dissonance.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
reason, so it's dissonance because it feels off. It's like something's not feeling right. I don't know what it is. And I call it divine dissonance because it's the necessary, it comes from something greater than us, beyond us, that's basically telling us this isn't it.
Mhm.
And but it's the answer is not to go out external again looking for more other things, because I've tried all of that, by the way, and we can dive down that rabbit hole if you want. But the divine dissonance is the call to go inward first.
Mhm.
It's the call for alignment, and that process of alignment involves getting clear about who you really are and what you really want and what why you're really here. And just to talk about purpose for a moment, because that word gets thrown around a lot. Certainly, I had a lot of, you know, I spent a lot of time trying to find my purpose, right? As if there was some sort of right answer that if I nailed it, then I would get an right. Like I got to find my purpose. You're so lucky you found your purpose. Oh, look at them. They're in their purpose. I wish I knew what my purpose was, right? Like and the shift that happened for me and that I invite other people to consider is just like, just choose something. Just pick something and keep going, like, because you can change it. And it's
Yeah.
a lot easier to change something. Like I like to say a lot, you can't turn a parked car. It's a
Mhm.
lot easier to figure stuff out in action, in motion, with stillness, by the way. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, like the practice of stillness, but I don't mean I mean just pick something and align your life to that thing. It
Mhm.
will evolve and change. Like in the beginning, it was women's empowerment. I was like, all right, I'm gonna dedicate myself to this. I'm gonna pick this. And that's great. And over time it got clarified, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
But the
What you're
point is to have something that's beyond just you.
Because at the end of the day, it's not really what you're doing. It's about who you are in the process of doing that.
Yeah.
As you're saying purpose, it reminded me, it reminds me of a story of the musk deer. The musk deer is like, that male cologne perfume that's musk.
Yeah. I'm
It
big into smells, so I do know all
Yeah.
about musk.
So it
Yes.
actually comes from like the guts of this Himalayan deer.
Mhm.
And the way that they hunt them is that they'll just wait under the mountains because these deer, when they get to a certain age, they start looking for that scent and it drives them crazy. And they go looking for it everywhere. They look under the rocks and from the other mountain and they jump and they get this anxiety and they're jumping, jumping, jumping and they drive themselves crazy looking for it until they just throw themselves off the mountains. And so the way that they hunt them is that they'll just wait on the bottom of the mountain because they'll go crazy looking for this thing that was always inside of them.
Oh my god, I did not know that.
So it's like the story of the musk deer, like our purpose. Everyone's like, where is it? What is it? And it's like turn around. It's the practice of turning around and looking at you, facing yourself, like looking at the thing that you've been protecting yourself from feeling. Right?
Yeah.
And actually feeling that because it's usually that has like this chest of treasure
Mhm.
and that discomfort. A lot of people are trying to avoid that discomfort, but it's actually, as you're saying, like that divine dissonance, that discomfort is the place where you find the truth. Like
Yes.
discomfort is the place that where you find it. And so what I'm inviting people in to when I'm working with people is to consider them not as something bad is happening, but this is an alarm system that is
Right.
going off for me to pay attention. Right?
That's
Like
it.
just pay attention and we don't pay attention trying to give everybody what they want because that's like what burns us out. We
Right.
we pay attention by finding our feet and finding
Mm.
like a straight column of in our physical body
Mm.
and finding that expansion of our breath. And we can't do that if we're three steps in front of our presence. So yeah. So what do you think it's and I think so much of that is being seen, right? It's like it's hard for
Yeah.
us to see ourselves fully. And that I
Right.
think is the biggest is the is I mean, I have struggled with it. I'm forever taking the layers off of the
Yeah.
fear of being fully seen. I share this with you.
Yes, sure.
And so why do you think so many brilliant people struggle to be fully seen?
It's vulnerable. It's scary. It can be, especially if, as a young person, we learned that being fully seen wasn't safe. There's a great book that I'm reading by Julia DeGangi called Energy Rising. She's a neuropsychologist. You would love it. And it's really crazy. I'm in chapter 4 right now. I've been reading it super slowly. Usually I inhale books, but I'm trying to take this one. I'm not trying. I'm taking this one slow because there's a lot to it. And by chapter 4, one of the things that she like posits is this idea that the scariest emotion on the planet is humiliation. That literally is the thing that drives almost every other thing.
Mhm.
And I was like, "Wow." Like, it rang true to me,
Mhm.
and it's like, really? That we humans would be so driven to avoid humiliation that it would drive almost every action. And when
Mm.
I start like, I've been now looking to the world with that lens. I'm like, "There it is, there it is, there it is, there it is." It's everywhere. And so
Mhm.
you asked I don't remember what you asked, but it seemed relevant when you asked it. This idea that why do people struggle to be seen? It's because I think they fear humiliation, and
Mhm.
humiliation is a very dangerous emotion or experience, we'll say, when we think about it in evolutionary terms, right? It's safe in the tribe, let's say, which has hundreds of thousands, millions of years of epigenetic evolution. We had to stay in the tribe. It was being safe was being like what everybody wants us to be and holding the role. And that's all well and good when you're in a tribe of 30 people or 50 or 100 people, but once your tribe is like you're meeting more people a day than most people ever met in a lifetime.
Mhm.
So it's not an adaptive strategy for the world we live in today. I don't know if that answered your question, but
No,
the
that totally answered the question. It's like we're afraid of humiliation, and it can come in so many different ways, like humiliation, rejection, or
yeah,
what if somebody actually does see you, but
yeah,
the abandonment,
right.
and then like they do see you, but you're not the thing, right?
Right.
Like
So there's a
there's
deep-seated stuff
yeah.
here that gets to be uprooted, and that's not easy, or maybe
Mhm.
it's just not I don't know if it's easy or not. It hasn't been easy for me.
And it makes me question, like, if that is, what is, like, what could be a good training. And perhaps that this would be a really good practice for anybody listening. Like, what could you do to increase your capacity to move without the fear of being humiliated, or to move regardless of the fear
Right.
of being humiliated? Because you don't want to, it's not
That's it.
about getting rid of the fear. It's about getting rid of the freezing mechanism that the fear is creating within you.
The
And so,
freezing and the fawning, right?
and
It's both
yeah.
freeze and fawn and fight, all of it.
All of it. But it's an ancient brain, reptilian brain, very limbic,
Uh-huh.
freezes nervous system. So how can we do like micro shifts every day? And I think one of the ways that we practice that, and I mean we practice that in the community, Michelle, all the time, is like, what is a way that I can continuously show myself a little more and show
Yeah,
myself a little more? And the practice of authenticity is so incredibly rewarding, because there's something cracks in our story when we know that we can show ourselves, and it's okay. And if some people like it, we don't die. If people don't like it.
well, okay, so my answer to that is very simple. I'm not saying it's easy, and you'll recognize this. It's this paradox of feel the feelings you have, cultivate the feelings you want. To me, that's the answer to almost everything.
Mhm.
When you distill it down to its essence, there's at the center of everything is choice, choosing, and really remembering that we can always be a choice, right? That we don't have to react. We can respond. Like we're choosing, and the choice brings us to I'm choosing to feel the feelings I have and cultivate the feelings I want.
Mhm.
And the reason choice is so important is because that puts us back in the driver's seat. So we're not feeling the feelings we have like, "Oh, now I'm angry and I'm throwing anger all over the world and I'm spilling anger out onto you and onto that person, onto the stranger, right? That's feeling the feeling you have, but without choice, right? The choice is sort of, okay, I'm feeling angry right now. Let me go and responsibly make space for this feeling and process it. And that means feeling it. And
Mhm.
usually, as you well know, Sandra, the feeling moves through pretty quick.
Mhm.
Once we make space for it to be felt fully, and if we can even, like, heighten the feeling on purpose, like, "Oh, I feel angry," and, like, we have clients that use damn it dolls to, like, get the feeling out. I use a towel and scream into the towel. Like, there are lots of ways to feel our feelings fully, responsibly, without spilling them out, and use that energy as fuel for something, for change.
Mhm.
Anger has a purpose. Without anger, we don't have safety. Without
Boundaries.
anger, we don't have boundaries, right? So there has to be a healthy expression of anger, and especially for women, but not only for women, that has been suppressed,
Mhm.
right? So getting back access to our full range of emotions, some people call it like playing all the keys on the piano, right? So that's feel the feelings you have, right? Like creating a practice in your life for feelings,
Mhm.
including the hard ones, the intense ones like humiliation and shame and guilt and blame and anger. And once we do that, it's like this bandwidth opens. We get access to the other frequencies too. We get access to joy and liberation and, passion and focus and all this. Like, you can't just have access to one aspect of the spectrum. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So that's part one, feel the feelings you have. And there's a whole lot more around that. And then the part two of that, the counterpart is the cultivate the feelings you want. And that's where we sit and like practice feeling compassion and kindness and gratitude. And sometimes it's anger if we need access to that. It's
Mhm.
like intentionally cultivating feelings like courage, and this I do it and you do it, through the body. All of it, it's through the body. It's not a mental
Mhm.
thing. It's a physical somatic experience. And that's the two legs that this whole work I think stands on is
Mhm.
really regaining mastery or gaining mastery of our inner experience and our emotional state.
Yeah, it's very beautiful because it comes to something that we work with all the time, which is holding the paradox. It's not denying one truth. And it's also remembering that you have the capacity to change your state at will whenever you want to. And that whenever we have a small aperture for intensity, meaning that we've been playing one key or, and for a lot of the people that are creating businesses and doing all these things, it's like it's the overwhelm and it's the victimhood and it's the I couldn't do it, the lack of choice. And when you allow yourself to increase your capacity to hold intensity, to feel intensity, you're also increasing your capacity to hold intensity in pleasure, in play, in beingness. And so much of what we see when we're working with people is that their capacity to feel the thing honestly without trying to blame or shame or put it on someone else or create excuses for it, but just responsibly use it as natural energy that simply needs to move and not make a story about it. It's just energy. There's an energy. You have two options. You hold on to it and make a story about it and let it live in your body, or you move it and you use it as an awakening tool. That energy is like an awakening tool that gives you the opportunity to witness how you are simply a conduit of energy and you can move energy at will. And from that energy that you move, it becomes like nourishment for for your creativity. It's no longer denying ourselves that we are alive and that some of the emotions that we've been told that are bad or negative or not culturally acceptable actually give us an access to a primal creative
Yeah.
way of living that without it does not allow us to access true desire. And
Right.
like without true desire, we are acting for the world instead of acting for what's true, what's us. And so, so much of what we see in this community, and also when I work with clients alone, is that they become more beautiful. This is like, and it's funny because it's like they, to me, physically beautiful. And it's not that they are changing their way of dressing, or sometimes they do, often they do. But it's also, it's just simply because there's more presence, there's more prana, there's more life force that's
Light,
moving through this. It's more light.
more
There's
light.
more, there's more capacity to hold all of themselves. And that comes with like ownership of yourself is
Yeah.
so beautiful because you're no longer putting yourself in a little box or in a little suit that
Right.
was accepted when you were young, right? And so the cultivation of those energies, when you have access, when you can feel the thing and know that it doesn't kill you,
Right.
it doesn't limit you, it doesn't keep you there forever, that when you have that and you can then allow yourself to remember, because it's all a remembering process, that you can activate states at will, simply just like, just think about a person that brings you joy, or think about a space that makes you feel amazing, or put a dress on that makes you feel beautiful. It's as simple as that. Take out the crayons, do something.
Right.
Like
Right.
immediately, it's not just in stillness, it's also through your environment, your
Yes.
surroundings, your choices. Then you start to have a different experience of life where you're no
Yes.
longer at the mercy of what's happening to you.
That's right.
Like what happens to you becomes like, yes, life. Okay. It's no longer about what is happening to me. It's about, it doesn't matter what happens to me because I know how I show up.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it. I mean, so beautiful. It's funny because, gosh, you know, I feel called to just like remember and acknowledge that. So I've been practicing this work for a while. I would say like, you know, I've been doing the business 18 years, but I've really been deep in the inner game, the personal work, the spiritual growth for about 12. And really, really deep, you know. Yeah. So anyway, and then about 5 years ago, I guess almost six now, maybe it was 6 years ago, you know, I woke up in the middle of the night and just like this poem flowed through me onto the page. I've never done that before. You know about this. It was just 2 hours and I wrote the whole thing, and it's this story. It's a it's a mythic allegory of a girl who experiences this design dissonance. She feels, you know, like she's doing all the things and she's dying inside, a woman, a girl. It's a character. Let's call her a character V. And it, you know, she's holding all of this intensity, all this pain, all this suffering of making herself small, of fitting into the box, of doing the achievement. And in order to so the theme of the book is that she has this dream that she wants to fly, and in order to be able to access that dream and build the energy towards that dream, she's gotta move all this stuff, through. And there's a scene where her heart cracks open and all this stuff pours out, and this is my story, it's your story, it's the story we've been talking about. Like, once that energy has the opportunity to move through, all of a sudden she's inspired. She doesn't care what other people think about her crazy idea. She's building, she's creating, she's in the workshop, and she basically builds a set of wings and then takes off, right? And it's just everything you talked about is in that story. The idea that, first of all, like her in the beginning of the story, her heart and her mind are not they're not talking. They're not connected. It's the mind running the show on repeat in loops, and the heart is asleep. And so through the process of the story, the mind and the heart start talking. And we know now from science, from Heart Math Institute, from research, that the heart is much more than a pump of blood.
Mhm.
The heart actually has an intelligence, and this work awakens the heart and starts to connect the heart and brain, which is a state in neuropsychology, neurophysiology called heart coherence. It's a
Mhm.
thing, you can measure it.
Mhm.
And that heart coherence, bringing the mind and the heart together, it allows us much greater access towards creating in the world, you know, and expressing.
It's such a beautiful book. Like, it's a beautiful piece of art to have in your home.
So
It's also, it also is like a child's book that is a soul story for everyone, for children, for adults. It's so beautiful. What I wanted to say about that, Yeah, I was seeing some of my teachers in New York last week, and one of them was my teacher Abby, who I learned this process called Katona Yoga, which essentially reads the Taoist system in the body. So really working with the feminine and the masculine polarities and structuring that, and always moving from the center of yourself, which is our heart. And it's so beautiful because I took that work that I was studying for years ago, and then I started working with psychosynthesis, which is one of the main pillars of my work. And psychosynthesis has this amazing map of consciousness. And you find the center of your awareness and your will in the center. And then, as a yogi studying the chakra system, as a mystic studying the tree of life in Kabbalah, as again looking at what are the truths beyond the Christianity through the Gnostic eye, and then you have the seven sacraments of Christianity as universal truths, and you put all of those maps, the map of Katona, the psychosynthesis, the tree of life, the chakra system, the sacraments, all of it, and you see that it all is finding the center. It all is from like finding the center. You sit in ceremonies where you're sitting around a circle and there is a fire in the center. There is always this find the center. If you don't know where to go, if you don't know where to look, don't go looking outside. Find your center. The center is the place of marriage, right? The center in the
Super
tree of life
deal.
is the place of union, and this the sacrament of Christianity is marriage, but really it's about finding that inner marriage between yourself. And the tree of life is Garuba, the translation of those two words is courage and beauty. What happens when you marry courage and beauty, right? The yin and the yang. You marry those two things, those two forces that seem completely opposite, and that third space between, like it doesn't even need a name or a story. Is those two conduits of energy, your awareness and your will, right? And if that's leading your life, this is the place through the that is saying. And if you look at old mystery schools, the mysteries of like Hermes Trismegistus is like you would go up through the channels of your body, right? Because the map of consciousness is in your body, through the channels of your body for ascension. But like the deeper mysteries is that you come back down to the center. And so what you're saying is so powerful because it is the center. Many mystics have spoken about it as the seat of the soul, is like the Wi-Fi for our higher wisdom, our higher knowledge. But if we're never creating the space, because it is required to have stillness and to have space to be able to listen to it, we will never be in truth. And so
Mhm.
something I admire of you so much is how you influence so many people to create that inner stillness and to do it not for the sake of getting something because you're doing it, but simply to have that space so that they can feel themselves. And
Yes.
I have seen you develop this and really commit to it throughout the years, which is something that it's been a practice of mine, and it really strengthens everything. It
Yeah.
strengthens everything, and I see the change in people that take on the practices that we're inviting them to do,
Yeah.
and it's almost like they couldn't recognize themselves and the
Right.
capacity that they have to do the scary thing on a consistent
Yeah.
basis because they have that inner pillar. They're
That's
building that
right.
inner pillar.
That's right. It's so one of my favorite kind of things to experience is what we're doing right now. It's recognizing the convergence of so many universal truths.
Mhm.
There's a lot, so many ways, so many paths, so many rabbit holes, and I love rabbit holes. I know you know that.
I know you're gonna have a podcast on this soon.
I am. And like, at the end of the day, though, when you say that, like, you can stack these and map them on top of each other, I'm like, "Yes, that's how we know it's real, it's universal, these truths." Every time I go down a new rabbit hole, I'm like, "Oh my god, it's another, way into the same universal truth."
Mhm.
And it's not so simple that there's just one thing, but ultimately there kinda is. That everything does come back to these
Mhm.
universal truths, and
Mhm.
that's why my book is so, like, near and dear to my heart, and why of all the things that I've done in my life, because I tend to have, like, more of an ADHD style. I get distracted and I go here and I love to do that. But this thing, I'm so committed to it because it's one of the few times in my life where I connected to that universal source and I knew something to be true and it came through me and it maps onto all the other things. Like, it's the hero's journey, it's the 7 chakras, it's heart coherence, it's quantum physics, like,
Mhm.
and that's to me, the exciting part, and to come back to what you were saying, that never would have happened had I not been doing the work of practicing stillness, of moving energy through my system. Like, to me, that was the gift that I got to say, keep going. This is real. You're tapping into something universal,
Mhm.
and other people have access. Everybody has access to this too.
Mhm. I don't know. I just want to emphasize that maybe people missed this, but she wrote this in 2 hours and it rhymes beautifully, right? And she does not have a past of being a poet. Like she's a
Never.
writer because she writes a lot, and but it's amazing to
Oh, and I sat down, Sandra, and tried to write a sequel, actually a prequel to be exact. And I have four stanzas that have taken me 15-20 hours. Like, it's not a thing. It was just in that, and thank God I got out of bed, because normally I would be like, "No, I'm going back to sleep. I don't wanna wake up," but it was so strong. It woke me up, and "Okay, fine, I'll go write this down," and then so yeah, yeah. The reason I share that too is kind of, I've gotten the question from a client recently, like, "Well, that's you. You're talented, or you have this, or you have that." And I'm like, no, it wasn't. I did work for it, like, in the sense that there was conditions that I created to make it possible, but ultimately that was opening and becoming receptive through feeling all these feelings and moving stuff through and having these practices in place. And then it was just this, like, opening, and I've had more experience like it, nothing quite like that ever again, but other experiences like that, it's always there. I feel like the inspiration, the creations, they're they're out there and they come knocking. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this in her book Big Magic,
Mhm.
and it's just a beautiful topic. She also talks about it recently on the telepathy tapes, this idea that ideas and creations are in the consciousness, they're in the field, and they're looking for people to come through, right?
Mhm.
Which kind of explains why sometimes two, like, farming or agriculture started happening simultaneously in two completely different parts of the world, right? The idea that there's a readiness in the field, and that we get to become, if we're available for it, a conduit of that
Mhm.
universal truth, of that evolution, if that
It
makes any sense.
Yes, it's like everything we've been speaking about, that our ideas are not ours. It's almost like,
Mhm.
what are we opening up? How are we opening up so that the frequencies that we are cultivating can become invitations for inspiration to come in, right? Spiritus, in spirit to move in. As I'm working with more and more with the plants, and over the years, I really feel that there is information from the soil and from our higher dimensions that they are forever in communication, and the humans that actually can stand are the conduits of that. We become the voice, the marriage of these two grand parts of, like, our greater bodies as the cosmos, greater bodies as Gaia. And if we can continue to align ourselves, literally align our energy centers and our way of aligning our life with what's true, with making sure that we're not draining our energy with pettiness or disorder, and or with keeping ourselves in other identities, draining our energy to the past, or draining our energy just being in tomorrow. But if we could continue to expand our capacity to be in the presence, right? I'm thinking about, like, the message everywhere is love. Why? Because love is the natural state when you have presence. It's like, right? It's like what is making the flowers grow is the presence of the sun. It's what is pouring in always. And so if we become these conduits, these channels both the voice of divinity and the information from the soil, now we can start to do what they're really like, why we're here, why are humans here? It's like, why are humans here? I was speaking to one of my teachers, Matt, and I was telling him that I was having this in this medicine journey, I was having this whole thing of like the sun not being a body that is like a physical thing, but like I was seeing it as a as a bridge, as like a conduit. It was a portal, that the sun was a portal to God. And I was experiencing the sun as a portal to God. So I'm in conversation with the sun, and the sun was like, "What do you think you are?" And I was like, "Wow, you're like a portal of God." And it was just like, "What are you?"
What is anything,
What
right?
is anything? Because when you and it's physics is showing that, right? That
Right.
everything
Oh,
is
yeah.
just space. It's like we think that there's material, but actually all of it is just space. So when we create space, naturally the presence of God or the presence of love pours
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
So that's so beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So
Man.
taking
Good. There's so much. There's so much. Oh,
Wait, if I
yeah.
take it back to Michelle for a moment and like just coming to like the end of our conversation, what is Michelle? What are you right now? Like, what is this next chapter of you requiring that, and perhaps that you couldn't access before? What
Yeah.
are you stepping
I
into?
get a little butterfly right about here when you asked me that, which is so fun. It's funny that you briefly mentioned physics. So this is kind of the perfect segue. Cause like for me, and I'm sure some people can relate to this, like I've had to access this whole world through logic and science and reason, and because that was what I built first. I built my mental capacity. I spent the first 39 years of my life becoming an intellectual, becoming somebody who could think really well. And so for me, that's always a part of everything. I like figuring stuff out. I like understanding things. And I get that there's so much more than that, but that for me has always been an access point. And you've seen me work this way with clients too. Like my clients are a lot like me. Our clients are a lot like me in the sense that they're high achievers, overachievers. They've very much developed the neck up, right? They got that part down. And so for me, being able to access these mysteries and these miracles through the intellect has been really fun and powerful. So for me, what I'm up to now is I'm launching a podcast,
Mhm.
and it's essentially to sort of offer the opportunity for people to shift their worldview through science.
Mhm.
And my belief is, my experience has been that the deeper down the rabbit hole of science you go, the closer you get to spirit, spirituality, source, the mystery, right? I think that's and Einstein saw it, and Max Planck saw it. Like all these physicists, they said it. They've seen
Schrodinger,
it. They
yeah.
see it. You know. And so to me, the exciting thing is to explore these mysteries and miracles with a scientific perspective, like to marry these two things and to no longer have them be these two opposites, separate, mutually exclusive. Like either you're a logical science person or you're a spiritual woo woo person. It's like, to me, the more you go down each of these rabbit holes, the more they converge together. And that's what I want to explore.
Yeah.
So,
It's almost undeniable that it's this non-locality of consciousness, and how
yes.
science is able to prove what the yogis were, like what the yogis were tapping into. Like I learned so much about quantum physics, and I didn't call it quantum physics. I called it yogic philosophy. Right. And so, like, what we call science today was actually natural philosophy. There was no name for it, right? It was like the natural philosophy before the science developed into something that was quanta, that was like in these pockets of energy. And they started to study that these pockets of energy are non-local. And so it's so amazing that science can now prove so much of this ancient wisdom that it have been around forever. But when I went to the Joe Dispenza retreat, being a yogi myself and also like kind of having a thing for science,
Mhm.
because I also love having things to engage my mind to validate my experience. I was like, oh my God, he's teaching yogic philosophy. He's teaching something about the power of in today's world to have the mind be in alignment with the experience, almost to take the mind
Yes.
to give the mind an anchor so that it
Yes.
trusts the experience is so powerful because the yogis and the mystics we've been exploring it through experience first without needing to give it a story. But when you have what we have now,
Right.
which is validation for that experience, it's like we can go either way. We can go information then experience.
Right.
For today's world, that's very necessary,
Yeah.
or we can go the other way, and both are super valid, which is like that whatever it is like what again, what's the entry point? The entry point doesn't matter.
Right.
The It's just about expanding your capacity to choose. Right now I'm
Right.
reading a book that's called the Great Biocentric Design that is kind of exploring all these different experiments that have been done scientifically through quantum physics that essentially it's very out there because it's giving you the understanding that time and space, which is how we create our experience, are not real unless we're paying attention to them, meaning like we have the capacity to change our past and to change our story. And when I do like regression therapy, I can see that that's true because then energy changes the way you change your story. But to have it quantifiable and to have it like to have validation for that through
Yeah.
science, it's incredible, meaning that it's also the same of nothing actually changes in our life. Nothing
Mhm.
can change in our life, past or future, unless we're looking at it. And like
Mm.
our observation is what is making it so. And so that our observation is creating like our collective
Reality.
observation is creating what we are seeing today in the world. And so as individuals, if we can continue to evolve our observation and our capacity to observe what we desire more, not
Mm.
denying what's there, but also changing our
Right.
story around it.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
powerful. That's like, portals of God, like all of a sudden.
Yes.
So
100%.
so cool, Michelle. One of the things I love about you is that you get these really big concepts
Mhm.
and you create and you make them so easy for people to digest.
Mm.
This yeah, and like things that I'm like, wow, this is a high mysticism that she's teaching right now, and she's making it super digestible. Like kindergarten, like in our retreats, you bring some things that are very, very like it's giving people so much sovereignty and it's these big concepts and all of a sudden you're breaking them down in ways that are practical and easy to digest and easy to live by. And so
Mhm.
I think you're an incredible translator of very important things that are being needed to be shared with people today. And I think so much of you being able to share them so easily is your capacity to live them, your
Well,
embodiment.
thank you. I received that, and I appreciate it. Thank you for that reflection.
You're so welcome, Michelle. It's been so amazing. Before we leave, one of the things that I've been really inviting people to is to step into their aliveness and like to really like it's not like to me that's the greatest wealth. Like how can I be fully here in all my colors, in all my radiance, in all my truth, to be fully alive and to emanate that, like that's to me is like the healthiest thing we can do for each other, for the world to be in full health. Right? And what does that mean in body, mental, spiritually? What does that mean to you when I say like what does aliveness mean to you?
Man, well, you kind of touched on it earlier. What the image that emerges in my mind is like that toroidal field, right?
Mhm.
Connecting to the earth, to Mama Gaia, having the grounding into life. The more work I do, the more plants I end up with, you know, like that part, like the going down, 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 and connecting to life, the earth 3D fully being fully animal, fully present, fully alive, and it's the all the way up too.
Mhm.
It's the whoo, opening and connecting to like the etheric and the beyond and it's the both and then coming with those two like the heart being kind of at the center of everything, opening that piece. One of my mentors talked a lot about something called the sacred cross. It's like an old, I'm sure you've studied it, but the idea that there's this vertical axis and then this horizontal axis. And so strengthening that vertical axis to which then allows that horizontal axis to reach out farther,
Mhm.
right? And to have more of that connection into the horizontal realm of people and humanity
Mm.
and that comes from the heart. So being fully alive is like all the dimensions, all the axes, and being in, strong and sovereign and that's, the practices of the daily practices of nourishment, food and water and air and movement, right? And then also the practices of meditation and connection and stillness and, really working that. And then the love, opening the heart, practicing compassion, loving kindness, metta, all of these things. That's to me fully alive is like all the directions.
Mhm. Yep. To be in all like to be spherically expanded. So
Mhm.
good.
And it's that radiance, that inner.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can feel it, there's a feeling to it, there's a movement to it, but it's, like, from the inside out, and
Mhm.
also from the outside in, it's also
Yeah.
the receptive, right? It's the opening to receive and listen deeply and receive people and receive wisdom and receive life, the experience, It's not just an expression, which is
Mhm.
exhausting, right, if we're only putting out, but it's also that inward piece as well.
Mhm. Yeah. I got the image of like of being worthy of giving and worthy of giving yourself fully.
Mhm.
Worthy of receiving fully,
Yeah.
fully worthy of receiving because you know who you are. Like it's
Yeah.
not just you and your identity, to know who you
That's
are.
what I mean, yeah, it's
Mhm.
like people have I know this is kinda a little bit touching on the first part, but I think it brings us sort of full circle. The idea in the old paradigm, the idea was, "I need to earn it. I need to
Mhm.
become worthy."
Mhm.
And in the new paradigm, like, everybody's already worthy.
Mhm.
Like, there's no earning here, it's just learning to receive it.
Yeah.
And be willing and open to it, and so that goes away, the earning aspect of it. I need to earn my worth, and I need to prove my worth. It's like that all goes away when we open and we can receive. We get that you don't have to earn anything.
Mhm.
Like, you are worthy because you're here. You're alive.
Mm. You are life.
Mhm.
You're alive. Yeah, that's it. Michelle, where
Yeah.
can people find you?
Superstaractivator.com is like home base. You can find anything you need there. Yeah, we've got free stuff, videos, my book, workshops, retreats,
Amazing
etc.
retreats, amazing workshops. Amazing mentorship. Thank you, everybody. If you're a leader, a founder, a creator who knows that there's something more, that there's a chapter calling you, send me the word alive and I'll send you some information about the private, immersive experiences and mentorship I offer. And my hope is that this conversation gives you not just another insight, but that it inspires you to take steps and to continue to become who you know is already there. Thank you, everybody. Please subscribe if this was meaningful to you or share it with a friend. Thank you.